Well, we are all excited about the very first session because this is something that's been part of our lives. We enjoy a good cup of coffee. That being said, I was very keen to know how many of you are coffee lovers. Give me a hands raise. I'm sure this cluster table definitely has it all, right? That's right. Our journey began from filter coffee to holding that big mug of cappuccino or all kinds of coffee. You can talk about it. And it's interesting to see how modern coffee consumers actually want their morning caffeine kick. So we decided we'll give you that caffeine kick in the form of a conversation right over here. And the names that are about to join us this morning, we are huge, huge fans already. So what we're going to do is quickly get started with this session. Let me also tell you, we have an exciting surprise segment as well scheduled, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to the conversation, and we'll get it started right now. All right, with that, let's go ahead and let me please invite our session moderator. She's about to join in, extract all the insights possible from her fellow panelists as we talk about experiential retail theme over here. We have with us none other than Prerna Mohan, founder and CEO, principal designer, PMDS, retail design strategy consultant, owner, Mohanlal Sons.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I, Prerna Mohan, run a retail design company by the name of Prerna Mohan Design Studio. And in our capacity as a retail design agency, we offer a plethora of service offerings that create enhanced customer store experiences. We intuitively understand that shopping cultures are shaped by global paradigms that go beyond individual preferences. We apply a multidisciplinary approach, helping us tailor experiences that have tangible and a positive and far-reaching impact on the businesses. We blend them all to drive retail experiences and increase footfall and sale conversions and augments brand positioning for the retailer. So today, I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel discussion, and I can't wait to hear the insightful discussions from all our esteemed panelists. So let's welcome them all on the stage. We have Tarun Jain from Tim Hortons. Please give a big shout out to Mr. Tarun Jain, current CEO of Tim Hortons and former chief executive of Costa Coffee. Let's shower him with gratitude for his mind-boggling leadership and commendable hustle. His passion, determination, and out-of-the-box thinking have definitely set the stage for a future so bright, Tim Hortons will need shades. We have Adrit Mishra from Starbucks. Welcome, Mr. Adrit, the fearless COO of Starbucks India. Not only are you a generous soul, but you also have a knack of spilling your deep thoughts. He is an IIM Calcutta graduate and comes with his years of experience in varied fields and poetic musings all over the place. We're absolutely stoked to have you gracing us with your presence. We have Mayank Gautam, who's representing Cafe Mocha here. So ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that we introduce to you Mayank Gautam, Managing Director of Jhala Corporations. Today he graces the stage to share his expertise and passion with us about 30 plus F&B outlets, and which he runs in Gujarat, and he's still opening more as we speak. Please welcome Matt Chitranjan. So let us join our hands in giving us a warm welcome to Matt Chitranjan, the visionary behind Blue Tokai Coffee Roasters, as he shares his knowledge, experiences, and passion for the art of coffee. Blue Tokai now has over 60 physical outlets across main Indian cities and regions. Get ready to sip, savor, and appreciate the true essence of coffee like never before. We can have a loud round of applause for all the panelists once. Let's welcome Ankur Gupta from Brewberries Hospitality. Please give a big round of applause to Ankur Gupta, the mastermind behind Brewberries Hospitality. Having 15 plus years of experience in this field, this guy is not just an entrepreneur, he's also a die-hard fan of the one and only Sachin Tendulkar and an active speaker and panelist at the prestigious Coffee Board. Can we have Shannon D'Souza? Let's take a moment to appreciate, he's from KC Roasters. Let's take a moment to appreciate the remarkable achievements of Mr. Shannon D'Souza. Not only has he established KC Roasters, but he has also expanded successfully the brand with multiple physical outlets. This visionary entrepreneur has brought the art of coffee brewing to new heights delighting coffee enthusiasts all around. Give him a round of applause, folks. We have Sushant Goyal from Third Wave Coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to show our appreciation and admiration for an exceptional individual. Join me in giving a resounding round of applause for Mr. Sushant Goyal, the co-founder and CEO of Third Wave Coffee and a former co-founder at Cluster. Third Wave Coffee is one of the biggest Indian coffee chain with 90 plus physical outlets today. My numbers could be a little off. I'm sure there are more outlets now. It's 105, I believe, now. And last but not the least, we have Rizwan Amlani. Everyone, please put your hands together for Rizwan Amlani. He's not only a nature lover and a tennis player, but he's also a young yet seasoned expert who participated in every area of dope coffee's creation. They have all their official outlets located inside Social as a part of Social. Let us raise our mugs in support of this coffee fighter. So I think it's a full house and we have all the panelists. So all the coffee giants across India, we have sitting them here with us. So let's begin. I think, how's your journey been so far with coffee? It is.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so I think it's been a fantastic journey. It's a great time to be in the cafe industry. I think all of us feel that because if you see the way the market is evolving, the way the cafe culture is kind of picking up, and the kind of innovation and work that we are seeing in this area, I think this is probably the best time that anybody could have asked for. So it's been a great experience and great to be on the panel with all my colleagues and from the industry, and really happy to be here. Thank you.
What are your expectations for your business in coffee retail in 2023?
Okay, so see, like most of you would know, we just started about a year back, right? Tim Hortons came into India in August 2022, and we've just opened our 20th store a couple of days back in Delhi. So it's still early days for us. We have been able to explore the market. We've gone into 8 cities. We've gone into and opened our first airport store in the first year itself. We are going to Punjab, Delhi. We've just opened Mumbai a couple of months back. We're getting into Bangalore this week. So I think it's been a pretty spread out journey in terms of physical proliferation. And then obviously in the first year, you also set up the entire supply chain, value chain, and the whole system which takes the steam onto the engine, right? So that's been the journey so far in the last 1 year. Looking ahead, obviously we have to look at growth. We are very bullish on the market. We are very excited to be here, like I said. And we are looking to grow in new cities. We are looking to grow new formats, new channels. The preferred growth strategies that we get into a certain area, a certain geography, set up the value chain, and then we kind of proliferate with the channels, right? So what happens is you go into malls, you go into high streets, you go into the travel retail business, which is could be airports or could be any other hub where people are. So in terms of growth, it has. Growth itself is one of the things that we are aiming at for this year. And having said that, also we are very conscious of growth which is sustainable, growth which is not at the cost of bleeding. The growth has to be in a way that we put up good stores where people have a good customer experience, which they've come to expect from the Tim Hortons brand, and at the same time, the store dynamics stay true to the brand. So that's the second lever that we have to look at this year. The third is obviously product innovation and reaching out to more and more people, because as you get into new markets, we have to build up some kind of resonance with the brand, with the people, right? So getting into the markets, announcing our launch, reaching out to people, whether it's through digital or outdoor, whichever medium. The idea is to connect with the people, bring them to the store, have them experience the brand, and then then it's a cycle of having more and more multiple visits and repeat visits and getting into new areas within the market, like I said. So I think it's a very exciting year ahead where we are looking at new cities, new channels, new stores, and obviously a lot of innovation on the menu side to give the customers a Tim Hortons experience.
Awesome. So 8 cities and 20 stores in 1 year is commendable. I would just like to add that. My next question is to Adrit from Starbucks. Any two elements that retailers have to consider while determining coffee roasteries and cafe markets potential? With your kind of experience, I think you would like to tell us.
Thank you for this opportunity. Glad to be in this panel. I think if I had to equate cafe industry, I think one of the key things everybody could equate it to is a mobile phone. Nowadays people buy mobile phone by looking at the picture quality, photograph quality, and they say, oh my God, this phone is great. And when you get the access to that phone, you try to figure out, okay, this has good battery life, this has good processing speed, and you try to understand the product. So I think for Indian cafe market, two things play a key role. First is that you have to create that ambience. You have to provide that experience, right? Indian consumers, when they come there, is coming for a lifestyle, right? In India right now, coffee penetration is just 21%, which is 1/3 of US. So we are fairly nascent. So when they come to a cafe, they want familiarity, they want comfort. So ambience is key. Once you have established ambience, then it's familiarity. You need to have products which resonate with the consumers because the category is less penetrated. You cannot fight behavior, right? So when you cannot fight behavior, the way you imbibe a consumer into your journey is through familiarity. And once you crack that, trust me, coffee becomes very important. The finer nuances of coffee, whether it is Arabica, whether it is ethically sourced, whether it is fair traded, and at Starbucks, 99% of the coffee is ethically sourced. And trust me, this is how the coffee journey has panned out. We have been in an Indian market now for 10 years, 360 stores, 44 cities. So we have seen the evolution. And we are entering into tier 2 markets.
Calls for a round of applause.
So that's been our biggest learning. And once the familiarity kicks in, consumers resonate to your product. And we are seeing in a market like Bombay, where we have been for 10 years, people come for product. So I think these two things any retailer needs to keep in mind when they are entering the cafe space.
Amazing. Shannon, you would like to take that question?
Yeah, I think our industry is actually a little bit of a contrast. When we started off KC, Blue Tokai, Third Wave, a lot of our product wasn't familiar to the Indian consumer. We were getting people into brewing coffee at home, AeroPresses, pour-overs, and to see the customer come to our outlets and say, we want a lighter roast, we want fruitier coffees, we want to brew at home, was something that was against the trend. I grew up in Australia and I came to India, and my family have a coffee estate in Chikmagalur, and they've been doing coffee for about 90 years. And so when I told my Uncle Peter, he's been the president of the Upasi Association, and we've had a very long history of coffee with the Coffee Board of India. He was like, Shannon, this is really going against the trend. You have to be very cautious. You're buying coffee at export quality prices, and the Indian consumer is going to take a long time to adapt. And yet today our industry is booming. The way Blue Tokai have gone out and expanded across the country, or Third Wave. But we've always been very experiential about the product. We've wanted to give the customer some sense of familiarity, but also build out a new innovative trends and that are at a global scale. So what we're doing today in our brands is something that you'll see in specialty coffee shops all over the world. India is not trailing in the coffee trends that we're producing. We're producing carbonic macerated coffee, which are trends from the wine world, which are brought to coffee. And the impact that we've had at the industry is not just on a consumer level with the growth we've seen. If you go to the farms in Chikmagalur, Tamil Nadu, if you go to places like Kodaikanal, Yercaud, if you see farms that even 5-6 years ago were very apathetic, they weren't excited about their industry, today they're investing so much into their farms in terms of equipment, into their staff, into the environment, and I think that's the most exciting story for me. When I go to these areas, and I grew up in Australia where we'd go visit vineyards and see how viticulture was really picking up, and to see those farming communities just be really excited, young people going back to the farms, looking at sustainability efforts both ecologically and for staffing is amazing. So I'm really excited about the industry. I love the contrast here on stage that you got Tim Hortons and Starbucks, which are really leading in the way they do with ambience and familiarity, and us really going against the grain and really trying to encourage things that I think are very positive for India and for it to add into the economy, not just at the front side to the consumer level, but all the way through to the farms and all the skill sets, roasting, baristing. If you see today baristas, they see it as a not just a job, they see it as a profession. So they're participating in barista championships. They're very worried about their presentation, how they look, where are they going in their career, going internationally to championships. I see that like the same as bar and mixology, what happened 5 or 10 years ago. And I think that's something that keeps me fun and interested in the industry, and I'm sure for all of our guys as well.
Thank you so much. My next question is to Third Wave Coffee, Sushank Goyal. What was your first win as a startup company? I would not call it a startup now though, with 105 outlets, in a competitive coffee sector against multinational giants like Starbucks and Tim Hortons.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and extremely excited to be on the panel. I think, we were just reflecting in the back room that this is the first time that all of us have been in the same room. So, a lot of learnings to share with each other. As a startup, I think the first rule is we don't celebrate wins. And I think in the early days when, we were a not known brand, the odds are completely stacked against you. You go to a mall and you ask them to give you a space, and they're like, who are you, right? You go to a high street landlord and he will, typically try and squeeze you for every penny. You try and talk to vendors. They're typically, not wanting to work with you because they don't know whether you'll be able to fulfill the obligations. So I think, it's extremely hard in the initial days to set up what I would like to call product market fit. And I think India's coffee story is just growing, right? I mean, there are 9, 10 brands today and a dozen more that are going to come into the country in the next decade or so. So, we don't really celebrate wins in the short run. We really look at being here for the next sort of 2 decades or so. But I think if I had to be very specific, I would say that the customer who comes through our door and then comes repeatedly through our door is the win for us, right? A little bit of what Adrit said around coffee was an occasion-based consumption story in India is now starting to become a habit-based story. And that's the only way that, the market is going to grow, right? So we're very focused on trying to bring the customer back every single day. And in order to do it, we have to keep innovating around menu, around spaces, formats. And I think in this room, everybody knows, right? I mean, the biggest sort of challenge in India is standardization when it comes to real estate. That's just not there. So how do you build different formats to be able to suit the customer? So, we don't have a philosophy around winning short term. So we're at it for the next decade or so.
Nice, thank you. My next question is to Blue Tokai Matt. Some current trends in F&B retail interiors include the use of natural and sustainable materials, as well as the incorporation of biophilic design aspects. So this is also, I feel, the need of the hour. Would you employ this design concept to create your future retail stores?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's really an honor to be here on this panel with everybody. I think it's an interesting choice that you chose us for this, because I would say among the companies here, we have always underplayed the fit out and the design of our cafes. For us, our idea was to lead with product, and we thought, okay, it doesn't matter what the interiors look like, people will come for the coffee. And for some time that was validated. But now I think as the market has evolved and more people have come and the cafe market has become more competitive, you really need to pay attention to the look and feel of your cafe. And that's really caused us to reevaluate the design of our stores, the materials that we use. You see a lot of people coming and sitting for hours. Before we used to have fairly uncomfortable seating. Now we've put in place more plush chairs so that people can stay for longer. How can you tell the story of your brand on the walls? Don't just have bare bones interior. So I think it's very important as a brand, first of all, that you evolve. You pay attention to the needs of the market, and you understand what customers are looking for, and that's something that we're very actively doing.
Thank you so much. My next question is to Rizwan. What digital skills do you feel will be the most important for F&B, particularly coffee for this panel, retail enterprises in the next 5 years, you feel?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's great. It's an honor to be on the panel with everyone. I think that, digital is a part of your cafe experience now. People kind of now experience your brand probably first socially before they come into your cafe. So it needs to be an extension. We need to be able to represent our cafes and our story and our narrative through, workshops that we conduct in our places. Get a feel of what we do in the cafe onto digital spaces. It's getting very, very difficult, especially with social media platforms changing the algorithms, very, very quickly. And you need to kind of be up to speed with them because you'll probably get lost between so much of content. I think you need to be relevant with the current audience. We need to be relevant with what trends they are watching and how that kind of transforms into your cafe. So it is probably the most important thing, I think, to be able to present your design and your space onto a digital community. Yeah, thank you.
Can I sort of chime in on this one? Yeah. No, I think, so digital means different things for some of us. Some of our brands are more take home or at home, and we promote products on D2C channels like Amazon, etc. Swiggy, Zomato have become sort of major forces in the world of sort of F&B, right? It's important to respect them, and partner with them. But I think the third and the sort of most important channel, and one that we focus on, is actually, we think that customers in India are extremely digitally savvy when it comes to wanting experiences at the store and even at the point before the store, right? So we launched a loyalty program and an app maybe 5 years ago, very early on in our journey, because we said that's the only way to get loyal consumers back through the door again and again. And we have continuously added features, so we get people to now pre-order and pick up coffee even before they enter the store, right? And we think we'll be able to drive digital behavior as well as start studying customer trends using that. So, as much as our business is physical, we're starting to study and understand the consumer more digitally, their patterns of ordering, the way they consume coffee and food. So, I think digital is going to play a massive journey apart from just Swiggy, Zomato, and Amazon, but also bringing customers through the door.
So what percentage of your revenue would say comes online through any of these third-party or direct?
Yeah, I mean, I can't publicly talk about that, but it's significant. It's very healthy, double digits. And of course, Swiggy, Zomato is significant, but we also see a large portion of our consumers on our app. And we're trying to drive that sort of significantly at the organization.
That's another win, I must say. That's another win. Another win for you guys.
Sure, yeah.
And with Starbucks, how do you feel that digitally has it helped you? How much?
I think digital is the way to go. As Sushant said, the cost of a digital currency right now is exponentially growing. I think apart from what he mentioned, a couple of other things, even your design elements, right? The way a store is done, people want to interact with little things as walls, as your coffee beans, digitally. So the exposure to a brand in India is going to be digital first. For us, mobile ordering and pay, which is, ordering ahead, picking it up, has grown threefolds. It has been one of the biggest success areas. And if you tie it back to Indian consumers, 1/3 of Indian consumers is going to be Gen Z in the next 3 to 4 years. And many of them do not have pen even in their bags. So we often do research in our cafe and we ask them to write, okay, what's your preference? And we found out that 40 to 50% of them didn't carry pens. Wow. That's how they interact with any brand. And I think digital for us is very key, not only in front end, but also in back end. If you want to, we are 360 stores. If you want to grow 500, 600, 700 stores in the next decade, you need to have system processes which are digitally tweened so that your innovation cycle is fast. In India, coffee will grow either because of penetration increase, population growing, lifestyle changing, kitchen spaces reducing. You walked into newer flats on an average, kitchen space is 20% lesser. And that's what is happening in Western economy. The second thing with why cafe will grow is frequency. Frequency will grow if you have faster pace of innovation. Faster pace of innovation will happen if digitally the company is attuned to providing that to consumer. So I think digital is a 360-degree thing. You have to have your backend ready so that you cater to consumers.
That was very insightful. Thank you. My next question would be to Ankur Gupta from Brewberry Hospitality. So what qualifications do you look for in selecting your top franchisees? And how has been your experience with the franchisees?
Thank you for having me here. First of all, it's been a fanboy moment for me to have been here on this panel with Starbucks, Tim Hortons, and Matt here, KC Roasters, Third Wave. So they've gone along, their stories have gone a long way in validating our aspirations, especially after COVID when we started with Curator's Coffee. In terms of franchising, it's like a matrimony thing because you need to be your life can be ruined if you have the wrong partner. So yes, it is very important. So what we look at.
Hilarious.
Yes. So the plan is not to get married; it's to stay happily married. When it comes to franchising. So it's very important to look at the clarity of the thought from the side of the franchisee, so as to why they are proposing to be in this business and what are their expectations from the business. Sometimes the lure is that the franchisee has a very, very good location and you're tempted to go ahead with that. But it's very important that the interests are aligned in terms of the franchisee and the brand. And in terms of my experiences with the franchisee, with Brewberries, we had opened over 75 franchise stores, and I have 75 stories to share. So, it'll take a lot of time for me to share. Point being that, every experience is a new experience. Every new cafe is a new experience. And, you have to just follow a set of principles, in terms of assessing the right recruitment and hope that they turn out well. So, that's about it.
Would you like to share any one experience with us?
So yeah, back in 2014, we started a franchise store in Port Blair, which is in Andamans, and that was the first coffee shop over there. And the location was really good. The franchisee was very keen. We were also very excited to do that. It was a nightmare for us to support the logistics of it. We had to ship the stuff there, and there was no mobile connection over there. There was no internet. So I went there for a month and I was only doing that store for a month, So it was a pretty exciting time. So it's also important to geographically assess. Going back, it was a great experience for me, but not necessarily the right way forward for the brand.
Correct. Thank you. And Rizwan, would you like to add this? So what are your key factors that you consider while selecting your franchisees? I know we already have one of your franchisees sitting here with us.
Yes, we do. I think that, when we, in Ahmedabad's case, we didn't have many coffee players in Ahmedabad except for Mocha. And, the giants hadn't entered. It just made sense for us to do it. And we know that we cannot be everywhere, right? It's very difficult to be everywhere because you are focusing on your product, you're focusing on your back end, you're building processes. You need the right partners. To make sure they believe in your philosophy. And now it's been, what, 8 years? 8 years. And we're happily married for now. And,
that's important.
Yeah. And we meet on banners like this, and it's very pleasant. So, I think that, especially then we would call Ahmedabad a tier 2. I don't think anymore.
There's been a lot of churn in these cities.
Was that?
The likes of Ahmedabad and Chandigarh and those
absolutely. I don't think they're tier 2s anymore. And even Surat, for that matter, it has more specialty coffee shops per square kilometer than Bandra, right? It is very interesting. And these places are very, very important. And I think people from who want to take up franchisees, they also want to kind of back your processes, right? They understand your process. They kind of deep dive into. I think it's a two-way street. It's just not. I don't think a franchisor should be the one who's always like saying, "Hey, I have the upper hand." I think they do a lot of the groundwork, and you need to make sure that you're providing and they're literally investing in your brand in a way. So you have to do well for them. And yeah, we've created our innovations, whether it's this, whether it's Raipur, Bilaspur, Jaipur, now Ranchi, Jamshedpur. All these places are, I think, fantastic opportunities for us. And it's also great to enter, get specialty coffee into the market through these channels, and set the way for the next wave. So even if we are setting up a more second wave kind of a situation, right, it's paving the way for what we really, really want to do is ethically sourced, fair traded specialty coffee. So as long as the franchisee shares the vision, we are very, very happy to allot the brand to them.
So with respect to your other outlets, besides Dope and Mocha, which is purely coffee, other outlets are also franchise owned, or are they more cocoa model? How does it work?
No, so the other factor that we've chosen is the shop-in-shop model. We believe that there is a marketplace for everyone, and we want to focus on upgrading the cafe game for coffee shops, which are, well, if we open one outlet, there are about 100 outlets opening from individual startup entrepreneurs. So to be able to caffeinate their cafes and bring them, and there's so many moving parts to the restaurant and the cafe industry. I think coffee, people want to get the best experience in their cafes through credible players, right? And I think what we have chosen is a shop-in-shop model for now, where we go in there and we do what we do best, and we let the franchisee or the shop-in-shop owner do what they do best, which is probably food. Everybody doesn't want to be a specialty barista, right? They don't want the headache. They have too many things to think about.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah.
interesting.
So we kind of go in there and we kind of establish a space in there, and then make sure that we complement what they do very, very well, which is probably food or the ambience or so on and so forth. So that's the model that we have chosen for now.
Could I just add on that with shop-in-shops? I think that's the thing that all our brands are being approached for more and more. Everyone in retail, whether you're looking at from a pharmaceutical company through to a clothing brand in the premium segment, is saying, I need coffee in our place. And I think that's a very IKEA trend. When you go to an IKEA, they have a food little cafe, and that's starting to pick up in all segments. So we're dealing with at least 5 to 10 queries every month from retailers saying that I need interaction, I need daily footfalls, and they're looking at coffee and cafes, and I think that's an exciting space for all of us. But I think that's a trend around the country, particularly in Tier 1 cities, but starting to pick up as well in Tier 2 cities with premium brands expanding into those markets, and I think it's a very exciting opportunity for all of us.
Thank you. And I think Third Wave Coffee has proved it just exactly what you said inside all the stalls here. We can see Third Wave being served. Okay, my next question is to yes, Mayank. Who are some potential competitors in the coffee cafes industry who are not presently competitors but would be in the future?
First of all, thank you for having me here in this esteemed panelist of speakers. I'm really glad to be here. And when we speak about competition, there are many players that haven't. I hail from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So there are many players in the world who are still not in Gujarat. And Gujarat is a market everybody knows. Gujarat are avid travelers. And avid travelers, Gujaratis have seen all the brands. But in Gujarat, when we speak about coffee, we can only count a few. Starbucks is already there. Tim Hortons is yet to come. So one of them. Then we can expect, we can expect Costa Coffee to come. We can expect Gloria Jeans to come. So there are so many players who haven't yet touched the market. And when we speak about competition, I have a different, point of view with competition. So when I have an experience to share, Starbucks opened in Ahmedabad with 4 outlets. And one of their outlets is just next to our Mocha outlet in Bodakdev, Ahmedabad. So when they started with a bang. And people thought that they will eat up our sales and, our competition is going to be stiff and it is going to be difficult for Mocha to survive. But it did not happen that way. the marketing of Starbucks was so, on top that they drew so much of footfall that we also got good business during their opening months. So 3 months back to back, our Mocha outlets did all-time great high sales. So the competition is not about eating up each other's sales. It is about making the buy larger and complementing each other. So this is my view, and I feel there is much more room for more bigger international players in Gujarat when I speak about. So thank you for that.
But any competitor that you would like to name would, who you think
I
would be
would love
making
Tim
headlines?
Hortons. I would love Tim
They're
Hortons
already
around.
making headlines.
Yeah.
Okay, any of the panelists would like to take up this question. How can you and how are you maximizing your potential by optimizing upselling strategies?
I'll take that. I think upselling strategy, and because we have seen the brand grow in last 10 years, has also evolved, right? And consumers have become smarter. Couple of things. One of the things which will help cafe industry to go ahead is the people who work there. Stickiness in people is very, very important. Now, if you look at attrition in retail industry, it's 70, 80%. And a cafe player to succeed in India cannot have that high attrition. Because smart selling, upselling strategy can only work if I have a trust in the barista who is recommending that. That trust can be built over time. Now, suddenly, I don't see that familiar face, then I'll not go and buy into the recommendation that that person is giving. So I think first, which has worked for us, is a stable attrition, making sure that people are there. Because in India, while digital can grow, people still trust recommendations from individuals whom they have interacted with. So that's number one. Number two is knowing the consumer preference. I think what we have used digitally very stronger is that, okay, you like a light roast coffee, and I have started to do an innovation. So I have to make sure that I am able to communicate to you about that particular coffee profile, or for that matter, food item. And that's where digital is going to be so critical to ensure that we are able to talk to the consumer one-on-one. So I think two things. And for us, what has worked in the first one is taking care of our employees, because that is going to be the biggest differentiator. We often talk about how we're going to open 500, 600 stores, but how we're going to find people who are able to serve that quality coffee at that large volume. And as organizations, we have to invest in that. So I would say these two things would be critical.
Awesome. So Shannon, which of your coffee brand's primary features, in your opinion, need to be improved?
That's a really good question. When we started off with Third Wave Specialty Coffee, we were really looking at that, going against familiarity. So we were looking at fruity coffees and really trying to tap that customer segment where people weren't getting the coffee that they were looking for. So typically travelers that had gone overseas and coming back. And they were like, there's not lighter roasts, we want fruitier roasts in the market. We've started to move to a segment of customers that are more ritualistic, that want darker, stronger coffee, and actually believe that's there now in India. And because we've positioned ourselves as a lighter, fruitier brand, we have to start to explain to the customer that we still provide that ritualistic cup. I think in terms of our hardest thing as a brand is communicating this kind of omnipresence, that we're an e-commerce brand and we're still a brand that you can come in and have a cup of coffee for. And so our communication as a strategy is really stuck between trying to tell people this is our e-commerce brand, this is what's happening, this is how you brew coffee at home, and then how do you come in and then have this cup with a food offering, and then how are you explaining to that? So I think our hardest part of the brand is our communication. I think our team to understand that, it's really, really hard to get a team to understand a product they're not familiar with, So do we send them overseas? How do we get them into that real mindset? So communication's our strongest thing. And then digital, we keep talking about digital, right? And digital works into what I think is 3 areas. One is digital payments. Then the second part is digital is making the customer feel unique. So when we're talking about Swiggy and Zomato, they have great programs like Swiggy One or memberships to really, coupons that are really make the customer feel special and unique. And that's really important for all of us when we look at spreadsheets and we're looking at 100 stores, 200 stores, this many consumers. How are we still premium and making the market individualistic for that customer? And I think that's the hardest part we have to communicate to our teams, because they feel they're a part of a really exciting brand. They feel it's all really important, but are they putting themselves in the customer's shoe and saying, how are we still, swimming against the tide, giving them something that's not familiar? And that's very easy when you're small and niche, but how do you grow that to be larger? Yeah, and then the last part is, as we go digital, it's still teaching our staff internally that digital is a way to connect to the customer, but how do they operate without digital systems? So how do you still human interaction? I keep telling our staff that, you might be a customer one day, you might be serving someone one day, but we're all humans. How does our interaction still become familiar and a very traditional when we're moving into a digital age? And I think that's the hardest part, is that everyone keeps speaking digitally, but a customer's in front of you. How do you make eye contact? How do you speak to them? How do you welcome them? Some of those things our guys are just missing, and I think that's a very important part of communication on the ground, as much as we talk about a digital world.
But you've done a great job, I must say, because I've seen people hunting, whoever are the real coffee connoisseurs, those people have been hunting for KC Roasters everywhere, and they keep looking for your product.
Yeah, we don't try and be everywhere, which we'll try and be a little bit more, but we'll try and stick to experience as we grow and try and be more accessible. But you've seen the market change, like Starbucks is very accessible, Blue Tokai and Third Wave are. We'll start to be larger store formats, go back to the experience of roastery and coffee, and not try and sell as many cups, but keep being impactful in that market. And we hope that's going to be the strength of the brand and the DNA behind it.
Yes. Would you like to add to this, Matt?
Sure, I echo a lot of what Shannon had said. As our brand has grown, more and more people have heard about it, and they come to our stores or come to our website. And because we offer a wide range of products, different roast levels, different processing methods, different flavors in the coffee, it's very important for us to be able to guide a consumer to pick the coffee that's suited to their taste preferences. There's no one coffee that works for everybody, so if you like light roast pour over and you order a dark roast, you're going to think our coffee is terrible. Similarly, if you're a milk drinker and you order a light roast, the sourness is going to be very off-putting. So we really need to do a better job of communicating what product is right for you as a customer, because that's really the way that the coffee industry will grow. And I think the other thing that we can do better is that people have this idea that brewing coffee at home is very difficult. It requires a lot of expensive equipment. You need to have, a science degree to do the recipe correctly. And so how can we come up with products that don't sacrifice on quality but still overcome that barrier? So I think our single serve sachets that we had launched is a step in that right direction, where it doesn't require any additional equipment, and you can just brew coffee just by pouring hot water over a bag. But are there more innovations, more things that can be done to get people to overcome that hurdle? Because the thing about coffee is once you start drinking it and liking it, it's very difficult to switch to another beverage, right? So there's a very, very high stickiness. So how can we do a better job of getting people over the initial hurdle, and then that stickiness starts to kick in?
Thank you. Tarun, what is your preferred method of approaching a customer and encouraging them to make a purchase?
So see, the panelists shared, obviously, in terms of reaching out, you have to kind of look at various buckets. So it's basically, one is how do you get people to the store, which you do through, how do you create that recall, which is largely these days, I think the digital media is the most effective way to reach out to consumers. And, so the cafe space is something, it's more experience, it's more occasion in a way, and it's more, socializing. So how do you create the brand as a top of the mind recall for that consumer who's looking out for an experience? And in our case, the experience is varied. It's me time reading a book, me time working on a laptop, couple time dating, taking the kids out, taking the parents out sometimes, because we got a wide portfolio of food and beverage. So we have to reach out to a wider segment of people. So we use digital. We also use other traditional channels, which is obviously local visibility. So if you're in a mall, obviously you want to be visible in the mall. If you're opening in a city, if you're just kind of launching a store, you need to be relevant to the environment immediately where people are visiting or accessing. And then, when people actually come in, then it's more about education, like people said, educating the customer on what your product and thing is about. Team is very, very important, because I think trust is a huge factor where people choose what they will buy, and, the experience that comes out of that then figures out, whether the person comes back and how often he comes back, because it's all about matching the expectation with what the actual experience is. So I think in terms of reaching out, it starts outside somewhere, starts when the customer hears the brand name, and it's after that it's a journey to the actual experience and the actual cup of coffee that you deliver.
So I think it's been a very nice, the right decisions for you guys. You're in the right places with the right strategies. Because whichever store, at least I've gone to, it's at Tim Hortons, I've never seen it without customers. Be it Select or the one at Elante Mall, Chandigarh, yeah, it's always touchwood, jam-packed.
Thank you so much. In fact, my BD team is right here. These guys have selected some of the best locations, and it's very important. I think site selection for any brand, and all of us are in a rapidly expanding phase right now. I think site selection is probably one of the most key factor, and getting the right amount of real estate. So not only in terms of the location, but also in terms of size, in terms of how it looks, what is the visibility, and what is the kind of profile which is visiting. Because, you cannot be relevant to the entire ecosystem. You have your customers and your gentry that you're relevant to, so you have to be in the right place. And then obviously the price of the real estate, the transactions and all those commercial considerations. So I think for a new brand which is there in the market for 1 year, getting the first stores right is very, very critical, because that's what brings visibility to the brand. That's how customer experiences happen. And that also creates a buzz. So, when we launched Mumbai, for example, through 2 stores in 2 days, I think that created quite a buzz. And people were talking in the social media about it. There was a lot of digital noise. And I think that's a right kind of noise that all of us as a brand want to make.
It's as if we've all been waiting for Tim Hortons to enter India.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to the end of the discussion, and thanks a million for generously sharing your viewpoint here and your wisdom and your boundless enthusiasm, all of you panelists. Thank you so much for sparing time. We know you're all busy people and time is very precious, and we are immensely grateful that you were able to carve out some time with us. Thank you for helping make this event a great success, and we look forward to participating with you in other events as well. Okay, so we couldn't resist taking a sneak peek into your Insta and Medium accounts. So on that note, I would request Adrit Mishra to say a few lines in your poetic andaz. So all of you sitting here who don't know, he's very good at poetry and he writes beautifully. Anything that you would like to add?
That was a surprise, so I'll try and recite a couple of lines. Okay, so I'll recite this one. It's Hindi poetry.
बिल्कुल चलेगी, दौड़ेगी.
और कोई नहीं बल्कि खुद का दिल जताता है कि कितने खास हैं हम. और कोई नहीं बल्कि खुद का दिल जताता है कि कितने खास हैं हम. जैसे ये पानी में परछाई जो यहाँ मन बना के बैठा है कि वही तो है नदी, वही तो है समुंदर.
क्या बात है. Let's have a huge round of applause on that note. Beautiful note to end. And I would request the panelists to continue sitting because there is a small quiz that we have for you guys, all of the audience here as well as the panelists. So the panelists I would put up a question. It's a small quiz. It's a fun coffee quiz to keep everybody entertained. I would be putting up the question to one of the panelists, and in case they are not able to answer, then we would open the question to the audience. Does that work? All right, so let's begin. Can we have the coffee quiz? Okay. We'd like the panelists to turn a little to look at the screen once.
Do we have hampers for the winners?
Yes, we have interesting hampers for the winners. What is the name of the espresso, steamed milk and foam beverage? Do you think it's a cappuccino? Is it a mocha? Is it a bonbon? Or is it a chai latte? Who would like?
Cappuccino.
Cappuccino. Is that cappuccino? It is cappuccino. Can we get, okay. And the next question. In 2017, okay, I'll tell you when you guys have to turn if it's a picture-centric question. In 2017, Starbucks created a bright pink and blue frappuccino that quickly went viral, named after what mythical creature?
Unicorn.
I would not pose this question to Adrit. So, was it mermaid, a fairy, a unicorn, or a dragon? Can Tim Hortons answer this question?
I don't know. I would
It's
guess
unicorn.
mermaid because it's pink and blue, but I'm not sure.
It's number 3, unicorn.
That's correct. It's unicorn. Pink and blue, unicorn. The imaginary animal. About how many espresso beans are required to make one espresso? 22, 42, 80 or 60?
Is it
42. Number 2.
22?
Number 2, 42.
42.
He's right. It's 42. Shannon's right, it's 42. Okay, which of the following conditions may be reduced by moderate coffee consumption? Depression, Alzheimer's, diabetes, all of the above.
Everything and more.
It is the cure of everything.
So our panelists, I'm not getting an opportunity to put the questions to you guys.
Where-
Our panelists are very well aware.
We're all in the pharmaceutical industry. We're all making people better. You know?
Okay, name this popular coffee treat made with espresso and ice cream. Is this a flat white? Is this a long macchiato? I don't know how to pronounce that. Affogato or Irish coffee?
Affogato.
Affogato. Is that an affogato? That's correct. Name this espresso and steamed milk beverage. Cortado, bonbon, cafe latte, Vienna. Would you like to take that, uncle?
I think it's a bonbon.
It's a bonbon. Let's see. It's a cafe latte. No worries. Okay, which type of coffee bean is more commonly consumed worldwide? Arabica, Robusta, Indian, Hearty.
We're all trying to make Indian coffee to be the answer to this.
So what's your answer?
Robusta.
It's Arabica. No worries. So how long does it take for a coffee tree to reach maturity? 5, 4, 2 or 8 years?
This is 5 years. A.
5 years? That's correct. 5 years. Canadian pop star. I think I'll just pose this question to the audience, if in case
It's
someone wants to.
definitely A, right, Matt? Definitely A.
Canadian pop star Justin Bieber partnered with what coffee and donuts chain in 2021 to rebrand their donut holes as Timbies? Was it Blue Tokai? Was it Starbucks? Was it Tim Hortons? Or is it Costa Coffee? Right. That's right. That's Tim Hortons. Yes, indeed. Last question. What is the name of the popular ice, cold and espresso beverage that you see here on the picture? Is it an iced latte, a cold coffee, a frappe or a cold brew? Would you like to take that?
It looks like a mix between cold coffee and iced latte, but I don't know.
You close.
Probably frappe. I'll say frappe.
Frappe.
Iced latte.
Oh, it's a latte.
All right.
Okay, we have more questions. Okay. Which of the following ingredients is not part of the traditional cappuccino recipe? A whole milk, whipped cream, cocoa powder, or water? Yes, you're right. Ankur said it, it's whipped cream. Yes. For the audience now, what are some emerging trends in the coffee industry that coffee shop owners should be aware of? Sustainable and ethically sourced beans, eco-friendly packaging, plant-based milk options, all of the above. All of the above. Is that the right answer? That's correct. What is the name of the espresso shot and foam beverage that is made with a single shot of espresso and topped with a dollop of foam? A macchiato, a mazzagoran, frappe, or espresso romano?
Macchiato.
A macchiato? That's correct. Which country is the largest producer of coffee globally? Brazil, Colombia, Kenya, Vietnam?
Brazil.
Brazil? That's correct. I think this is the last question now. What color is a coffee cherry when ripe? Red, black, brown, or yellow? That's correct. It's red. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you for your time. And thank you, audience, for participating and being a wonderful audience here.